This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who row the pine. I will be your host today, Mason, and today we have the Benchwarmer team of Josh and Eric playing against Benchwarmer Scott and newcomer Andrew. So we will go ahead and get started with introductions with Scott and Andrew. So go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us your team name.
Hey, all, how you doing? Hey, Scott.
Andrew, thanks for coming on, buddy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're coming from?
Well, I'm Andrew. I live in Durham, North Carolina. I grew up in Toronto. I've been kind of all over the map, both with where I've lived and sports I've followed and been involved with. I've been a hockey and a baseball fan for most of my life, but now that NASCAR is one of the few sports that's actually on, I'm forcing myself to occasionally watch a race or two coming out of that because, hey, sports is sports. And if it's helping to get the country back on its feet, I'm going to fully cheer for a sport where turning left is the main obstacle and ambition.
Excellent. So what is your team name for tonight?
Well, given that we've got a Cleveland-Toronto connection here, we've decided to go with Roberto Alamarcus Stroman at your service.
I see we're doing a rip on pre and post game already, so thank you for introducing yourselves, team Roberto Alamarcus Stroman. And now, Josh and Eric, go ahead and tell us what your team name is.
Go ahead, Josh. This is all you.
All right. Well, we've decided to go with Eric and the Anchor because, as it's well known on this podcast, along with Matt, I am the other anchor and not in the good kind like in Tug of War. So, Eric and the Anchor.
Anchor is my favorite sports contronym ever. One of those great ones you can apply where no one really gets the idea of which one they mean. And so you can just smile and nod.
All right. Well, welcome to the bench, gentlemen. Now, on to the rules. We'll be starting off with our tailgate round to warm up the teams. This will be followed by 4 quarters of play, each with a different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I'll explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions pertaining to sports. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from their points accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true bench warmers they are. All right. We will get this game underway, starting off with our tailgate round, which is 3 warm-up questions worth 10 points each. And there's kind of a little mini theme here, so all these questions will be about team nicknames. Question 1. What nickname was given to the Houston Cougars basketball team led by Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon from 1982 to 1984?
We can check in, Andrew.
So Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in. So Eric and Anchor, you are free to discuss.
I think I actually maybe have an answer.
You do. So
yeah,
let's check in with yours.
Check in. So we're going to check in with Phi Slamma Jamma.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Phi Slamma Jamma and Roberto Alamarcus Stroman. Your answer?
Yep. We're also going to check in with good old Phi Slamma Jamma.
Both teams are starting off with points. The correct answer is Phi Slamma Jamma. So both the teams were coached by Guy V. Lewis, and there were other members of the fraternity you might remember. Larry Mr. Mean Michaud, Michael Silent Assassin Young, and Benny Bomber for Bernice Anders. So quite a trio of nicknames. Moving on to question number 2. Which MLB team added the word legs to their team name from 1953 to 1958 so as to distinguish themselves from any speculated connection to communism?
Let's check in with that.
Eric and Anchor checking in. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, feel free to talk it out.
I think it's the Reds. Cincinnati Reds to Cincinnati Redlegs.
It sounds familiar to me. Go ahead and check that in.
All right, we're checking it in. Cincinnati Reds.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman checking in with the Cincinnati Reds, and Eric and Anchor, your answer?
We also checked in with the Cincinnati Reds.
Both teams, once again, are getting points. Correct answer is the Cincinnati Reds. So they first started off as the Red Stockings and then became the Reds, and then switched to the Red Legs for that short 5-year period, and then changed back to the Reds. All right, last question of the tailgate. What NFL team has been jokingly referred to as the Flaming Thumbtacks due to its logo, which actually does bear some resemblance to a flaming thumbtack?
We can check in, Josh.
Eric and the Anchor checking in. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, talk it out.
I don't know nearly enough football.
I'm just trying to think of it based on the logo.
Is any chance it's Kansas City? Because I'm just seeing the arrowhead and what looks like a push pin.
Yeah.
I don't have a better guess because I barely know football.
Yeah, a flaming thumbtack. There aren't many logos or like helmets that have anything that looks like flames on it in football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. We're going to check in with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in with the Kansas City Chiefs. And Eric and the Anchor, your answer?
It's actually the Tennessee Titans.
One team will be getting the correct answer is the Tennessee Titans. So the T looks like a thumbtack. There's the 3 little stars that are around it. And then there's some flames coming off of it. So that's why they were jokingly called the Flaming Thumbtacks.
Well, that makes sense.
I always forget that they're a football team. So like they never like they're one of the obscure teams to me. They never pop in my head when I start listing football teams.
Even though they made the AFC Championship this past year.
I see, and again, I still, they're pretty irrelevant to me.
After the tailgate round, we have scores of Roberto Alamarcus Stroman with 20 points and Eric and the Anchor in the lead with 30 points. So today's first quarter will be how low can you go? For this round, there will be 4 questions consisting of 5 clues given one at a time. After each clue, each team will decide if they want to lock in their guess by sending a Zoom chat to the host. If a correct answer is locked in after the first clue, the team will receive 50 points. After the second clue, 40 points. After the third clue, 30 points, and so on, to the last clue being worth 10 points. Question 1, when am I? Clue 1, Fuzzy Zoller wins the U.S. Open.
You want to take the next clue, Andrew?
I would like to take the next clue.
Yeah, we're going to wait for the next clue.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is waiting for the next clue, and Eric and the Anchor?
I certainly don't have enough to go on with that.
Okay, let's go ahead. Next clue,
All right,
please.
next clue.
Moving on to clue number 2. Bill Johnson becomes the first American to win the gold medal in downhill skiing.
Well, I'm glad we can narrow it down to 1 year and 4, but
Yeah, that doesn't help me enough to feel comfortable. That's
No.
the next clue you thinking?
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Next clue, Mason.
Eric, you got anything?
It's going to be early 80s.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I haven't been on. I skipped the last recording, so I'm rusty. I mean, I have an idea, but we can definitely take the next one to narrow it down. I think one more should be enough.
All right, sounds good to me. We'll take another clue.
Moving on to clue number 3 for both teams. Martina Navratilova wins the French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open, defeating Chris Evert in all of those finals.
Okay, well, Eric's definitely right with his clue there.
I don't have enough to go on.
I mean, they battled all throughout the 80s, so it's hard to point.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the same that I've got.
Yeah, let's hold off then.
Yeah.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman's holding off for one more clue. Eric and the Anchor?
Are you good with pretty sure?
I'm good enough with pretty sure.
Do you have anything?
I
are you
mean,
okay with what I sent you? I am sending that to you, right?
Yeah, no, I figured it was, that or the one prior, but
So, I mean, if you're good with it,
After,
if you're good with that, let's check in.
let's check in.
All right.
Eric and the Anchor is checking in for 30 points, so go ahead and send that answer on over to me. And for Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, we will move on with clue number 4. Walter Payton breaks Jim Brown's rushing record.
Took me a minute to realize we were talking about football. Doesn't give me any more.
So, it's got to be a Winter Olympic year, right?
Yeah.
Skiing.
Skiing, yeah. So it's 80, 84, or 88 if it's early 80s.
I think 84 is too early for Peyton to break that record.
Trying to think of an American winning a gold in downhill skiing in a Canadian Olympics would trigger any ideas. Well, it's a gamble between if we think it's in the 80s and 84 is too early for Walter Payton, then it's a gamble.
It seems like it's a little early.
Okay, well, it's a 50-50 flip between 84 and 88. But 88, I don't know if 88 feels too late for Chris Evert either. Because I know she was definitely in her prime back in the mid to late 70s. But, well, it's a coin flip on 88, or we wait for one more clue, in which we still might not even get it dead on. I'm inclined to go for it.
Okay. Which one do you think? Which one do you feel stronger about?
If you think 84 is too early for Walter Payton, then let's do 88, because that would put Chris Evert probably in her mid-30s, which wouldn't surprise me if she was a dominant force and Martina was in that point. Let's say 88.
Sounds good to me. Go ahead and check it in.
Checking it in.
So Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in for 20 points with 1988. And Eric and the Anchor, you checked in at 30 points. And go ahead and give us your answer.
So our answer is 1984.
So Eric and the Anchor is checking in with 1984. And I'll go ahead and read the last clue for you and see if that helps you. Hakeem Olajuwon is drafted first overall in the NBA draft. And so one team getting points. The correct answer is 1984.
All right.
Sorry about that, Andrew. Seemed a lot for Peyton.
It's all right.
Peyton actually, he was drafted in 75. So, I mean, that's 9 years in the league. To hit 84.
Yeah, it just seemed
he actually retired after 87.
So now we move on to question number 2. What am I? Clue 1. Baylor and Utah State played in the only NCAA bowl game to be held here.
Next clue.
Yes, indeed.
Marcus Stroman is going for the next clue. And Eric and the Anchor.
Next clue. You go with that? I don't know unless Josh knows.
Another clue.
All right. You're not a huge Utah State fan?
Moving on to clue 2. At various times, I was known as Brotherhood Park and Brush Stadium.
I think we'll wait for another clue.
Eric and the Anchor waiting for you another clue. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman.
Scott, I think we definitely got to wait.
Yeah, conventional wisdom says wait for another clue. I mean, we're already in a little bit of a hole. It'd be nice to gain some ground, but let's, we'll wait for another clue.
A lot of game left to play. A lot of yards left in the field.
Okay, both teams. Moving on to clue 3. My nickname was the Bathtub.
We're going to take another clue, please.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman taking another clue. Eric and the Anchor.
I have everything but the name of the place.
Give me a second here. Let me think about that. No, the other one. Another. I'm trying to think of what that other.
No, because I know that name, and this name, I don't even think I know the name if it comes up, to be honest.
So even if I type it, you'll be like,
maybe, but I don't.
Well, should we just take another clue?
You know who would know this? Matt. I guarantee you. Guaranteed. But yeah, okay. So let's take another clue.
All right.
Both teams moving on to clue number 4. The last sporting event held here was a 1963 NFL game between the Jets and Bills.
I stand by everything I just said.
Each team with a New York guy on it, too.
I have nothing to add. So I think we could take another clue if you're okay with it.
Yes, we will take clue number 5.
Eric and the Anchor are taking clue number 5. And Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, are you going to take a guess or go for clue 5?
I'm inclined to go for clue 5.
All right, everybody is in for clue 5. And here is clue 5. Arguably, my most famous sports moment was Vic Wirtz's fly ball caught by Willie Mays in the 1954 World Series. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in. So, Eric and the Anchor, you're free to discuss.
So I have very little other than what I said you. I mean, it's in New York City. It's a super old baseball stadium. I knew the nickname of it, but I don't know the actual name of it.
What is? Oh, so you knew the nickname was the Bathtub?
Yes. Don't know the name of the stadium.
And you're almost certain it's not Ebbets Field.
I would know. I know Ebbets. Like I know that as in like a stadium. I know that name. With this, I don't.
Or was that where the Dodgers played? Was Ebbets Field? It's the problem. Too many teams in baseball started in New York in their own stadiums and then left.
I have nothing for even a guess.
I mean, now that we've talked out Ebbets as being probably the New York Dodgers,
I don't think I'm going to get to it unless Scott sings for me. I don't know, but I don't think he's on the other team, so I don't think he's going to sing.
It's not about the other team. It's about stumping me last game.
I mean, in the end, this is right now a 10-point question. I'm not going to sweat.
I'm not worried.
We really don't.
Let's just check in with Matt's Little League Stadium.
All right, we'll check in with Matt's Little League Stadium.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Matt's Little League Stadium for 10 points. And Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, your answer for 10 points.
It's all you, Andrew.
Well, I think we were sweating it that it might actually be Ebbets Field because it was the one thing we could think of that was even close to Flushing Meadows, which was something that had a brush, just because we like puns. But we ended up committing with the name I think you were looking for, which was the Polo Grounds.
And one team will be getting points. The correct answer is the Polo Grounds.
See, never even heard of that.
I have, but I wasn't going to get there at all at any point.
Yeah, there were multiple incarnations of it. I think one of them burned down. There was like 3 or 4 of them that were there for a while. And interestingly enough, the light poles used at that stadium are now used at the home field for the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Huh.
They had a strange connection. Somehow it got donated over there after it was done, and they've been there ever since. Still working. So I was thinking about throwing that clue in there, but I figured that was literally not going to help anybody. So that's why I added it.
It's good flavor text.
Yeah. After the Matt-inspired question, we'll move on to question number 3. Who am I? Clue 1. I, along with my brother, was an executive producer for the 2018 sports film Run the Race.
Let's take another one.
Eric and the Anchor taking another clue. And Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman.
We'll do the same.
Okay, moving on to clue number 2. I was born in Makati, Philippines.
Josh, you good with another one?
Eric and the Anchor taking another clue. And Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman.
I think we will. I think we're inclined to also take another one.
Sounds good. Moving on to clue 3. In order to draft me, a team traded 3 picks, which would later become Sergio Kindle, Ed Dixon, and Dennis Pitta.
I think we'd both like to hear another clue, please. And by both, I just mean me and Scott, not all 4 of us, not both teams.
Josh, I'm pretty good with that.
Well, then checking in.
All right, we're checked in.
So Eric and the Anchor are checking in for 30 points on clue 3. And so for Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman, I will proceed with clue number 4. The NCAA created a rule informally named after me, which banned messages on eye paint.
That doesn't help me at all, Andrew, and it doesn't take me off of the scent of the person I was thinking of before.
I say let's go for it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and check in then.
Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman is checking in for 20 points, and go ahead and give us your answer.
Going to check in with Michael Vick.
Checking in with Michael Vick for 20 points. And Eric and Anchor, you checked in for 30 points, and go ahead and give us your answer.
So first 2 clues were zero help. I did not know he was born in the Philippines. But I did know that the Broncos did trade up to draft him in I believe, the first round, and that's Tim Tebow.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Tim Tebow, and one team is getting points. The correct answer is Tim Tebow. So the last clue would have been talking about him batting 163 for the Syracuse Mets last year. So
that one I could have got.
Tebow question that involved very little football, surprisingly. Done a lot of different things. I didn't even know he had an older brother, but his brother, Robbie Tebow, helped executive produce that movie that I was talking about. So one more question in the round of how low can you go? And it is, where am I? Clue 1. Some of my non-Big Four professional teams include the Seals, Legion, Aviators, and Growlers.
We'll take another clue.
Eric and the Anchor taking another clue. And Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman.
Let's hear another one.
Moving on to clue number 2. The NCAA Division I Toreros are located here. And it is Toreros, Toreros.
All I know is that just rules out my original guess of Newfoundland because they're unlikely to have any NCAA Division I teams.
Let's hear the next clue, Mason.
Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman hearing another clue. And Eric and the Anchor.
All right, yeah, we'll take one more.
Both teams moving on to clue 3. I have never had an NHL franchise, although I do have a current AHL franchise, the Gulls.
Checking in.
Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman has checked in for 30 points. Eric and the Anchor, feel free to talk it out.
Yeah, so back to my love of college nicknames. I'm pretty sure the Toreros is San Diego. And then when he came out with the Gulls, I'm now like 100% that it's San Diego. So let's check in with San Diego.
Eric and the Anchor checking in for 30 points with San Diego, and Roberto Al, Marcus Stroman also checked in for 30 points. Go ahead and give us your answer.
Well, it's definitely the San Diego Gulls. 100% on that. So that's what we went with, San Diego.
Both teams are receiving 30 points for this question. The correct answer is San Diego. The other 2 clues were Torrey Pines was built on the site of a U.S. Army installation here, And then within a 14-year span, the Rockets and Clippers both left here. Yeah, and now their only Big Four team is the Padres, which you can find on Pitch, which is on Hulu. So there you go, Scott. You had to give your plug for the game.
Really recommended. Thank you.
That's why I wrote that question, because of Pitch. Really. Like, I was like, oh, San Diego. Time to write a sports question about San Diego.
Seriously, how much money are you getting paid?
I signed a non-disclosure. I can't.
I'm just very glad you didn't use the Ron Burgundy example.
Yeah, there was enough Will Ferrell on the last episode.
About that. You've never seen Talladega Nights.
Dude, you hadn't seen any good movies until we recently.
You've watched the entire season of Pitch, but never seen Talladega Nights.
I said it's like the one of his movies that somehow has eluded me. I nothing against it. It's just the one for whatever reason. Like
okay.
It's not really a good movie. It's got some funny lines. Come on. It's not a good movie.
It's one of those things where it's like I feel like now I don't have to watch it because everyone just references it so much where I know some of the lines. So it's like I have to watch it for it.
I'm dropping the anchor after that comment, Josh.
Sorry, this anchor is attached. You can't get rid of me.
Going down with it, whether you like it or not. After the first quarter, we have a score of Roberto Alamarcus Stroman with 60 points and Eric and Anchor in the lead with 120 points.
Plenty of game left to play. Plenty of game.
Sure is. And our second quarter for today is pre and post game. For this round, there will be 5 before and after style questions. So, for example, if I said, what all-time leader in receptions for the Indianapolis Colts was a Notre Dame safety drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, the answer would be Marvin Harrison Smith. And each question is worth 20 points. Question 1. What Indianapolis Colts wide receiver was named a finalist for the 2020 Pro Football Hall of Fame and won NHL All-Star MVP in 2017 as a member of the Flyers?
Check in, Josh. We'll check in.
Eric and the Anchor is checking in. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, feel free to talk it out.
Good. I can just start naming people who run that team.
Yeah, please.
All right. So I think Braden Shen was definitely a center with that team before he got traded. So we got a Braden. We got Claude Giroux. We got Jakub Voracek. I think Shane Gostisbehere was on that team at that point. Let's see, 2017 All-Star MVP.
Yeah, so which one of those guys would have been an all-star?
They all could have been an all-star. So but Braden Shen is probably the biggest deal out of all of them.
I can't think of a Colts receiver that was
Braden.
Than Braden.
Okay. Their goalie had been Brian Elliott. Could have been Steve Mason. Could have been just those two, really. It's just too late for Brizgalov. Who else was good in that team? Sean Couturier. Could have been him then. I mean, that's my list.
All right. So Colts Hall of Fame finalist receiver.
Yeah.
Reggie Wayne
Simmons. Wayne Simmons played for that team. He easily could have been.
All right. Well, we're going to check in with Reggie Wayne Simmons.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in with Reggie Wayne Simmons. And Eric and Anchor, your answer?
So, Scott, your weakness of hockey, you had somebody who's Canadian.
I know.
Paid off for you because the answer is Reggie Wayne Simmons.
Yeah.
Beep, beep.
Makes the dream work.
Beep.
I literally said that to him in the chat. I was like, if you can get the hockey player, I know I'll get the receiver. Let's try to work it backwards.
Yeah.
And both teams are receiving points. Correct answer is Reggie Wayne Simmons. So all aboard the Wayne train. There you go. And he was actually traded to the Sabres not too long ago for a 2021 fifth-round pick. Move on to question number 2. What San Francisco quarterback, winner of the 1970 NFL MVP, was the only quarterback in NFL history to lose all 10 of his career starts while playing for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yep. All right, we're checking in.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in. Eric and the Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
So I got the Chief. I don't know any. 70 is what? The merger? Like, that's it. Like, right? It's football didn't exist for me then, unless it was in the Super Bowl. I don't think he played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. So you said the Chief is
Brodie Croyle. Yeah.
So we got to come up with somebody who either
his last name's
last
Brodie.
name is Brodie or ends in bro or something like that. I'm trying to think any quarterbacks who even come close to that. kind of name.
Jeff Brodie, Jim Brodie, Vince Brodie.
It's Adrian Brodie.
Lou Brodie.
My brain already went there, Scott. So nice.
I'll just start throwing names. Frankie Brodie. No. Albert Brodie. Norm Brodie.
You can say all these names. Nothing's going to ring a bell for me.
Y.A. Brodie. So just pick up. I'm going to let you pick a name, and we'll go with Brodie Croyle afterwards. So just give me a first name.
So we need like some kind of like
just a common. Don't go
like
crazy.
It's got to be like a 1950s name, right? He was born probably in the 50s.
Okay.
Or actually maybe in the 40s.
So you want to go? My dad was born in the 40s. If you want to go with his name,
what's your dad's name?
John.
John Brodie Croyle. Sure, let's go
40s?
with that.
All right.
We'll check in with John Brodie Croyle.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with John Brodie Croyle. And Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, your answer?
I have no idea if you backed into it or not because we had no clue on this whatsoever. So we went with Roger Staubach to the future.
You checked in with
I think that's right.
Staubach
I think that's right.
And Eric and the Anchor, you somehow backed your way into a correct answer because the answer is John Brodie Croyle.
Oh, my God.
That is his. So John Brodie graduated out of Stanford. He was actually played golf for a while. He qualified for the U.S. Open the year he got drafted. So he was a pretty good golfer. But yeah, his name is John Brodie. So somehow you picked your dad's name and it worked.
He was born in the 40s. Josh.
Yeah, Brodie Croyle.
There we go.
John Brodie was born in 1935. So
like I said, somewhere in there, if he was a quarterback in
take
70,
take the points back.
We'll take it.
No, take them back.
Take them back. You don't want them now because it wasn't the 40s. Oh.
So the other interesting fact I found was that Brodie Croyle was the number 2 quarterback out of high school after Joe Mauer. Hey, Joe Mauer probably could have been a better quarterback for the Chiefs than Brodie Croyle. So, all right, moving on. Question number 3. What golfer who won the 2013 U.S. Open and a gold medal in the 2016 Olympics scored the last goal against the Netherlands to win the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup?
Josh, you want to just check it in? I don't think we're going to stumble on it.
It's funny. We were thinking the same thing.
But the last name you sent for that one, I think.
I know that's not right.
It's a first name for one.
It's a last name for one of the players. I know it's not that one. It's not right. I'm telling you right now, it's not right.
Well, I'm just saying that's also a first name for one of them. But I can't. But it could be a last name for one of them too.
All right, I think we're going to check in so you can talk freely.
All right, Roberto Alamarcus Stroman's checking in, so Eric and the Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
So, like I said, I'm pretty sure it's Justin Rose, but I don't know anybody named Rose. I have an ex-girlfriend named Rose.
She wasn't on the 2019 FIFA.
She played rugby. She's very angry.
I mean, could Alex Morgan's nickname be Rose?
Probably not.
I don't, and it's not obviously Megan Rapinoe.
No, not Carly Lloyd.
I already used Carly Lloyd in a previous one, but
yeah,
I got nothing better. So if you just want to go with that,
yeah, let's give it a shot. Justin Rose Morgan.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Justin Rose Morgan and Roberto Alamarcus Stroman. Your answer?
Okay, so I'm starting a new pre- and post-game streak of not getting them correct. Just want to make that known throughout our podcast here. We were on a similar wavelength there. After Carly Lloyd McClendon several games ago, I've exhausted all of my women's soccer knowledge. Actually, I answered a Brandy Chastain one too. So now, yeah, I've really reached my limit. So we also went with Justin Rose. So we checked in with Justin Rosie the Riveter.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman checking in with Justin Rosie the Riveter. Fortunately, I can't award points for this one. The correct answer is Justin Rose Lavelle.
Well, obviously.
So she was actually awarded the bronze ball, which means she was the third best player. Even though you haven't heard of her, she was a fairly good player for
Pretty good, apparently. Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Well, you can write to FIFA and tell them that she shouldn't have deserved the bronze ball for that.
That email has already been started.
Fair enough. Now we move on to question number 4. Which Blackhawks defenseman won the Conn Smythe Trophy in 2015 and claimed that 40% of the MLB was using cocaine in 1980, only a year after winning the NL MVP?
We're checking in.
Roberto Alamarca Stroman is checked in. Eric and the Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
So it's Duncan Keith, sorry. And the only Keith I know from the 80s is Hernandez.
I mean, he certainly could have won an MVP in, 79? He said it. Did he say it in 1980 or was he? Okay, so he won the NL MVP in 79. I can't think of any other Keith. I mean, I think he would have been playing in 79.
Am I wrong with Duncan Keith?
What other defensemen are for the Blackhawks from 2015? That's your department.
Thanks.
If he didn't play for the Wild, I don't have, and even then,
Not. Brent Seabrook. I don't like the Blackhawks.
So if that was your initial thinking, I say we go with it. And
all right, let's go with it.
All right, so we're going to check in with Duncan Keith Hernandez.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Duncan Keith Hernandez and Roberto Alamarca Stroman. What did you check in with?
Well, the bad news is they got Duncan Keith correct because he definitely was the unanimous Conn Smythe MVP pick of 2015. And then the only Keith we could come up with was Hernandez. So we said Duncan Keith Hernandez.
And you also checked in with Duncan Keith Hernandez, and both teams are getting points. The correct answer is Duncan Keith Hernandez. So according to the American Mustache Institute, Keith Hernandez was rated as the top sports mustache ever. So coming from a place of authority, I assume.
Well, that's impressive.
Then these people have never seen Paul McLean, an NHL coach who's nicknamed the Walrus. So, I mean.
What about Lanny McDonald?
Lanny McDonald. I mean, we've got multitudes of hockey mustaches here just waiting to be butted in here.
There's better mustaches in Raleigh Fingers.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hey, totally Raleigh Fingers.
I'll throw a name out there. You can Google it because no one's going to know who he is except for his mother and me. Ben Guite. Amazing handlebar mustache for the Avalanche. Just saying.
I mean, even in baseball, you could probably give Don Mattingly's nice trimmed job a little bit of more credit than Keith Hernandez there. So,
yeah. All right, last question for pre and post game. Question 5. What Texans and Lions safety, the league leader in interceptions in 2014, currently coaches a team whose players include Emmanuel Mudiay, Joe Ingles, and Mike Conley?
We can check this one in. Andrew, I know this one for a fact.
Roberto Alamarca Stroman checking in. Eric and the Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
So this is where we're talking it out, and I have nothing. Texans and Lions safety.
Texans and Lions safety who led the league in interceptions in 2014?
Glover Quinn. Did he play for the Texans? I only see him as a Lion.
And I'm trying to think of what team. Because Mike Conley got traded, I do believe.
Last I knew he was on the Grizzlies.
I think he got traded this last season. And I have no idea where Mudiay and Engels play. But then even if it was the Grizzlies, I couldn't tell you who coaches the Grizzlies. What was the name you came up with for the safety?
Glover Quinn.
Quinn. Is Quinn Buckner? Oh, that's a name in sports. Is he a basketball coach?
How many basketball coaches can you name?
Current ones? Not many. They not quite as often as hockey coaches, but they seem to get fired pretty quickly too when their teams aren't winning. So there's lots of turnover. I got nothing better on. So if we wanted to go with your first half and throw Buckner on the end as our guess for Quinn Buckner,
let's go with it.
I got nothing better. You're looking at the Anchor for help. That's not gonna help you. I got Phi Slamajam. What else do you want?
Just tell me where Mike Conley went, and we probably get this.
I don't remember where he got traded to.
I didn't even know he was traded. Quinn. Is there a coach named Quinn? There is. I don't know his last name. Yeah, I got nothing. I'm pretty sure the coach of the Jazz, his first name's Quinn. It's like Quinn. I could say Quinn 100 times. I don't think that's good for anybody. So let's just go with Glover Quinn.
Do you want to go with the last name that I had that at least is a person's name?
Yeah, I don't care. That's fine. Go ahead.
So you go.
Glover Quinn Buckner, or wait, is that
Sure.
what you want? All right, let's check in with
that.
Yeah. Sure.
So Eric and the Anchor is checking in with Glover Quinn Buckner and Roberto Alamarca Stroman. Your answer?
Thankfully, I knew this one right away. It's definitely Glover Quinn. Mike Conley did get traded to the Jazz after the Grizzlies drafted John Morant because, too many point guards. And their head coach is Quinn Snyder. So the correct answer is Glover Quinn Snyder.
One team is getting points. Correct answer is Glover Quinn Snyder. Yeah, so Quinn Snyder was a player at Duke and went undrafted, and then he went directly into coaching a couple years later, and he's been there ever since. He's been at multiple different pro teams. He coached Missouri for a while. He was an assistant at Duke, so he's been around quite a few teams during his coaching career.
Teams that aren't like on the top, or somebody who's obviously came in after Jerry Sloan. Couldn't even come close.
You could literally just refer to him as like generic NBA coach number 4. Like there's nothing about him that would stand out from most of the other coaches.
And I haven't been paying that close of attention because the Timberwolves have been crappy. So, oh well.
Heading into halftime, we have scores Roberto Alamarca Stroman with 120 points and Eric and the Anchor still in the lead with 180 points. So it's now time for the halftime show. There will be 5 entertainment questions that are about or involving sports, with each question being worth 20 points. Question 1. For what professional team did Lizzo's new man play for in the 2018 hit song Truth Hurts?
Are you really going to make that worth 20 whole points?
All right. Go back to the old Matt questions.
Hey, you want
we
something
are checking in.
We can check in as well.
All right, both teams checking in. So we'll start with Roberto Alamarca Stroman. Go ahead and give us your answer.
Now, having just lived in Minnesota and hearing the name new man from the Minnesota Vikings over and over again, there's nothing that makes me spin my head faster. So we're going to go with Minnesota Vikings.
Checking in with the Minnesota Vikings and Eric and the Anchor. Go ahead and give us your answer.
Well, if I were Dan, I would sing it to you, but I am not Dan, so I'm just going to answer with the Minnesota Vikings.
And both teams are correct. It is the Minnesota Vikings. And there have been some theories as to who this particular individual is. And one of them is interesting to me is Terrence Newman, which would explain the new man reference.
Makes sense.
It's very tenuous. There's a couple other contenders, but
But it's definitely true, right? She definitely did have a new man on the Minnesota Vikings.
Who is Lizzo?
So she is a rapper. She's
someone
actually
of
from
note.
Baton Rouge area because she did a music video at Southern University. But she's
With
only
the-
been famous for the last,
With the marching band, right?
Yeah, she did it all with the marching band.
Yeah. So I think she might be from like the Detroit area originally, and she definitely lived in Minnesota for a stretch. So she's kind of been around.
I think she moved to Minnesota to work with Prince, actually.
That very well could be true. It would make sense. That'd be a good place, good person to go work with. But Eric, I'm older than you, and I know who Lizzo is, and not just because she was like here for a while, because I didn't know her when she was here. It's not like we were getting coffee on Tuesdays.
So, hot take. I'm old, and the only reason I know I'm old is because all new music sucks.
I mean, it's true.
Very
Like I know who Lizzo is, but I couldn't have told you the lyrics in that song because I switch it whenever it comes on.
Didn't you go through your Twitter phase a year ago and see everybody used the line? I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% something. Although in the song,
Oh
was
yeah,
That's
I've
from-
seen that.
That's from one.
That's her. That's from that song.
The same.
Of
song.
course, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's another reason I don't listen to it because I'm
Yeah.
not percent that bitch. So
Fair enough.
13%
Tops.
on a good day.
Question 2. I'm willing to bet most, if not all of you, have never heard of the 1979 movie The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh. So it's about the Pittsburgh Pythons, a professional basketball team led by Dr. J, of all people. And there are other cameos by famous basketball players, including Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Spencer Haywood, and Connie Hawkins. But what clown prince, who later became an ordained minister, fittingly played Reverend Grady Jackson in the movie?
We're going to check in.
Roberto Alamarca Stroman is checking in. Eric and the Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
You know who would know this?
Matt.
He loves nicknames. So, who's the Clown Prince? I don't know the movie. I don't know the nickname.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know the movie, but
I was really hoping the question
You
was going to be
were
the
re-
fish who saved, and then you have to name the city. But afraid
Well,
not.
you really were inspired by Matt for this. For this.
I mean, I was trying to cover a wide variety. Unfortunately, some of them dug. I mean, it's 1979. It's not like it was pre-Great Depression like Matt.
I've never even heard of this movie.
I haven't either, but I found the movie searching through Wikipedia, and it had basketball players.
And I'm sure Clown Prince is like the key. Like,
Yes,
there's the thing. I don't know what like comedian. I'm guessing it's a comedian.
No, it's a basketball player.
And he didn't say that.
That's what I'm getting from it.
Necessarily.
He said there's cameo from basketball players, and then this, like, he led me to believe it's a basketball player. So what basketball player is the Clown Prince of basketball?
From the 70s?
60s? I don't know. Any of them, really. Anything before that movie.
It's not necessarily a basketball player.
No, but it's everything leading up to that makes you go there. I don't think he's trying to mislead us. He doesn't seem like that kind of gentleman.
Is there anyone on the Globetrotters from back in the day who was like Reverend or?
The one thing I know less about than 1970s basketball is the Harlem Globetrotters. How many Globetrotters can you name?
Curly Neal.
Let's go with that.
Sure. All right. We'll check in, sir. We'll check in with Curly Neal.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Curly Neal. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, your answer?
If I could name any Globetrotters, I would have named them when we came up with our thoughts. But the only Clown Prince I know is the Clown Prince of baseball, and that's Max Patkin. And he was in another movie, so I don't know if that's fitting. So we checked in with Max Patkin, Clown Prince of baseball.
We checked in with Max Patkin, who I've never heard of. So
well, here goes that.
Yeah.
There's that then.
So
Bull Durham. He's in Bull Durham.
So the correct answer is Meadowlark Lemon, who was named the Clown Prince. He was on the Harlem Globetrotters, so Josh was on the right track. He was getting his way there.
I might have even come up with him, but
yeah, like I said, you were dancing around it. I was like, maybe he will back his way into naming. Yeah, but he was known as the Clown Prince when he was on the Harlem Globetrotters, and he was also inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Well, I was at least sniffing around a right answer.
Question 3. Speaking of ministers in basketball movies, what former NBA player took time out of his busy schedule to play Uncle Drew's former teammate Preacher in the 2018 movie Uncle Drew?
We'll check in.
Eric and the Anchor checking in. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, go ahead and talk it out.
All right,
This is where we're at. Busy former players.
Yeah.
Of what we've listed here, I feel like Shaq seems like the obvious answer.
Definitely busy.
Yeah, but I mean, and he kind of gets his hands in as many things as he possibly can, it seems like.
Yeah, and has acted.
Yeah.
So.
But I wonder if it's a little bit too obvious. The reason I thought Magic Johnson, because he's involved with the Lakers front office and the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's busy too.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. And
Charles Barkley's a guy who's been on TV.
Right.
He's also a busy guy.
That movie is, I feel like that movie is guard heavy with Kyrie Irving being in it. That's why I'm leaning towards Magic. I feel like he'd team up maybe with another guard, do like some fancy dribbling and some things that might be out of Shaq and Barkley's wheelhouse.
Well, I got no thunder whatsoever, so let's go with Mr. Lucky Magic Johnson.
All right, so we'll check in with Irvin Magic Johnson.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in with Magic Johnson. And Eric and the Anchor, your answer?
Well, this is a movie that apparently neither Eric or I have seen. I'm pretty sure Shaq was in it. And then I was trying to think of other former players. I think even like Lisa Leslie might have been in it. There was one woman player in it as well. So I think it was Lisa Leslie, but I couldn't think of any others. And Shaq's a busy guy being on, TNT, the NBA on TNT, and doing commercials all the time. So we went with Shaquille O'Neal.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Shaquille O'Neal. There was a subtle clue in here. I didn't try to emphasize it, but I said took time out of his busy schedule because there's a particular player that infamously took a timeout when he did not have one, and that is Chris Webber.
I wouldn't have got there.
Nope.
Yeah, so there
Which
was
is good because I thought the clue for timeout would have been Michael Jordan. So thank God that it didn't clue into that. But that's time off, not timeout.
Yeah, it was kind of a subtle clue, but I wanted to kind of lead you to that, but evidently no one picked up on it. So
He does stuff on TNT as well.
And he commentates a lot of games.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. So that's where I was like, oh, Shaq's busy. He's doing lots of things. So.
all right, well, this round has been interesting, but we'll move on to question 4 of our halftime. In 2012, what artist, who might have been running out of change in his pocket at the time, recorded an absolutely crazy cover of the Ramones' Blitzkrieg Bop as the Thursday Night Football theme?
I know it, Andrew. We can check in.
Roberto Alamarca-Strom is checking in. Eric and the anchor, talk it up.
Well, I threw the guess. Oh, you got something better?
No. I change in my pocket is it's lyrics from a CeeLo song. From that I don't want to swear. That
Which song is Change in My Pocket?
that it's the edited song is Forget You, but replace Forget with.
Okay, so you want to go CeeLo?
It sounds like Change in My yes.
If that's one of his lyrics.
Yes, it is. It's 100% one of his lyrics.
So I had the Lizzo lyric down. You got the CeeLo lyric down. We'll go with that then. So we'll check in with CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green.
Eric and the anchor checking in with CeeLo Green and Roberto Alamarca-Stroman. Your answer?
So, yeah, it sounds like both teams, it took them a minute to get there. Like, I couldn't think of what that change in pocket reference was. And then in my head, I remembered I was at Best Buy once and I was playing Just Dance to Forget You by CeeLo. I bet that change in my pocket wasn't enough. It's CeeLo Green.
You also checked in with CeeLo Green. Both teams are getting points. Correct answer is CeeLo Green. I was kind of surprised that this happened, but the name of the song was I Love Football to beat a Blitzkrieg Bop. It's a strange song. And it wasn't, I think it was only on for 1 year on Thursday Night Football because it was a strange song.
He's a strange guy, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And there's also another subtle reference with Crazy, which was a song by Gnarls Barkley, which he was part of as well. So that was a more subtle reference than the other one, but I figured I'd add both of them. You can go from either direction, but yeah, CeeLo Green is the correct answer. All right. So now we are on to the last question of our halftime. And so I want you to complete this line from the Beyonce and Jay-Z's 2006 song Deja Vu with the name of a speedy outfielder who used this song as his walk-up music until his retirement in 2013. And here are the lyrics. I used to run bass like blank. Now I run the bass, hi-hat, and the snare.
All right, Mason, we're going to check in.
Eric and the anchor checking in. Roberto Alamarca-Stroman, go ahead and talk it out.
If you guys want to take a true halftime, because I'm prepared to go through every single baseball team and just think about fielders if that's what I have to do.
So the best guess that I've got there is Juan Pierre, because he was definitely active in the early 2000s. He easily could have retired in 2013, and he was definitely a speedy outfielder.
You know what, guys? We don't have to do that break. That's right. I mean, how could it not be? It rhymes with snare.
Yeah.
And he's a speedy outfielder, and he retired right around that time. So that's a good pull. Let's check in with Juan Pierre.
Roberto Alamarca-Stroman is checking in with Juan Pierre. And Eric and the anchor, your answer?
So, we needed something that rhymed with snare, and the first thing that came to my mind is Juan Pierre.
So you also checked in with Juan Pierre, and both teams are getting points. The correct answer is Juan Pierre. So he actually lived in Alexandria, Louisiana. Fun fact. So it's a slight Louisiana connection.
It's only fun for you.
And he ended his career with the team that he won his only World Series with, which was the Marlins. So that's where he ended it in 2013.
Thank my 2003 Fantasy Baseball League for introducing me to the guy to begin with.
Oh, we're not thanking your knowledge of Jay-Z and Beyonce songs?
We are definitely not thanking my knowledge of Jay-Z and Beyonce songs.
I would have been crazy in love with you if that's what we were doing.
I got to give a shout out to Eric there. He's the one that pulled that. I was sitting here going, rhymes with snare.
So I said in the chat, I'm like, it's definitely not Matt Stairs.
We have to be a different kind of speedy if it was going to be him.
Yeah.
Heading into the second half, we have scores of Roberto Alamarcus Stroman with 180, and Eric in the Anchor with 240. And now we'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BenchwarmersTP. And if you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thank you. So now, today's third quarter will be Let It Ride or Throw in the Towel. For this round, there will be 5 questions in a given category that increase in difficulty. After each question, teams can decide to let it ride and attempt the next question, or throw in the towel and take the points they have accrued to that point. 1 correct answer is worth 20 points, 2 correct answers worth 40, 3 worth 80, 4 worth 160, and all 5 correct answers is worth 320 points. If a team answers incorrectly, they will lose half of their points accrued in the round. So today's category is the 2000 NFL Draft. So we'll start off with your first question. What kicker was drafted 17th overall in the 2000 NFL Draft and somewhat lived up to his hype by making a record-tying 63-yard field goal in 2011?
Josh, we can check in.
Check in.
Both teams are checked in, so we'll start with Eric and the Anchor. Go ahead and give us your answer.
We checked in with Sebastian Janikowski.
Checked in with Sebastian Janikowski and Roberto Alamarcus Stroman. What was your answer?
It's Shane Leckler's duo back there for the Raiders for all those years. It's Sebastian Janikowski.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman also checked in with Sebastian Janikowski, and that is the correct answer. I was going to add that Shane Leckler was drafted in the 5th round of the same draft, so they provided quite a special teams duo for the Raiders. Not really getting them much in the process, but still a solid special teams duo.
Hey, they went to a Super Bowl, those guys.
Yeah, at least they had that. Other than that, they were just punting all the time and kicking all the time. So now the question, let it ride, throw in the towel.
I think we're certainly going to let it ride.
Let it ride.
All right, we will move on to second question. What linebacker selected 9th overall won the 2000 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year and is the only member of the class to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
We can check in, Josh.
Eric and the Anchors checked in. Roberto Alamarcus Stroman, go ahead and talk it out.
Well, talk it out means Scott can talk to himself because I'm going to be absolutely no help to him on this.
I'm having like a little bit of a brain fart as to when this person that's on my head actually came out. So it's not Terrell Suggs. Going through Ravens linebackers, Peter Boulware. I think he was a little bit before the 2000s. There was Ed Hartwell. He was drafted before 2000. Obviously, I hate Ray Lewis. He's like one of my least favorite athletes. So I don't know much about him as far as like when he was drafted, but I thought it was before 2000. But Hall of Famer, I know he's a Hall of Famer. And I don't think there's anyone else I can think of that's made the Hall of Fame that was playing with the Ravens around that time.
I would offer you moral support because that's all I can offer.
Okay.
I say go with your best instincts. It sounds like...
I don't have any.
I mean, it sounds like Ray Lewis is your best instinct.
He just seems earlier than that because they won that Super Bowl and he was a big part of that team, but I don't remember that necessarily being in his rookie year. I really didn't get into football until a little bit after this. So
if it's at all helpful, everything I know about football, I know from watching the league, and Terrell Suggs was a player who was mentioned on the league.
Right. Yeah. He came out of Arizona State in like 2005 though. So
okay.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. So
okay.
Not him. We're just going to check in with Ray Lewis.
Roberto Alamarcus Stroman is checking in with Ray Lewis. And Eric and the Anchor, your answer?
So I'm obsessed with the NFL draft, so I know this draft almost like front and back. Brian Urlacher.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Brian Urlacher. And the correct answer is Brian Urlacher.
Did you Ravens?
I did not mention Ravens.
Where the hell did the Ravens pop in my head from?
I was asking Josh that. I'm like, why are you on the Ravens?
I would have got that right had I heard that. Oh, my God.
I was just thinking because, they do have dominance at linebacker, so I was just sitting here going, that must be why he keyed in.
No, I keyed in on my head for some reason. I heard Raven. I don't know if I was thinking the Raiders from the previous question, and I have no idea. I'm sorry, Andrew. Obviously it's Urlacher. I would have gotten that right if the Ravens weren't on my mind.
It's all right. For my part, I thought you were clued on the Ravens because I thought, well, the 9th overall pick that year must have gone to the Ravens, so I'm just trusting you.
No, not at all. No.
All right, so since Eric and the Anchor had a correct answer, the question is, let it ride or throw in the towel?
We're going to let it ride. Otherwise, Eric will kill me if I want to throw in the towel.
All right, I see. So we'll move on to question 3. It is rare that 2 players from the same university are drafted first and second overall in the same NFL draft. What university accomplished this feat in the 2000 NFL draft, having 2 defensive players selected in the first 2 picks?
We can check in, Josh.
Well, we're the only ones to check in. They're out now. They answered right.
All right, so do you know? Do you want to answer it?
Right off the top of my head, I don't know who went 1 and 2. If you told me who went 1 and 2, I might be able to tell you the
All right,
university.
It's Courtney Brown, LeVar Arrington.
Is that Auburn?
Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah. No, I don't know these things. I wasn't paying attention to the 2000 NFL draft that well.
It's my first year out of high school. That's all I had in my life was the NFL draft. So we're checking in with Penn State.
All right, checking in with Penn State, and that is the correct answer. The 2 players that you mentioned, Courtney Brown, LeVar Arrington. And the Redskins got their pick from the Ricky Williams trade. So that's why they had that second overall pick. I believe they also had the 3rd pick, which was Chris Clemens.
Chris Samuels.
Chris Samuels. I don't know why I said Chris Clemens. Yeah, Chris Samuels. Sorry.
I'm going to know every single one of these, Andrew. This sucks.
So.
Screwed by the format. What are you going to do?
Well, as soon as you said Penn State, it's like, oh, yeah. If I would have thought, I didn't really think when I heard the second name. So, obviously, go ahead, ask your question.
All right, gentlemen, would you like to let it ride or throw in the towel?
We're going to let it ride.
I figured you'd say that, so we will proceed with question 4. The Cleveland Browns, in typical Browns fashion, drafted multiple busts in the 2000 NFL Draft. In the 3rd round, they selected what running back, who was the NCAA career leader in rushing touchdowns from 1999 to 2012 and lasted only 2 years in the league?
They're getting harder, so I like it. But I'm pretty sure it's Travis Prentice. Are you good with that?
Sure.
All right, so we're going to check in with Travis Prentice.
Eric and the Anchor has checked in with Travis Prentice, and the correct answer is Travis Prentice. So he lasted 1 year with the Browns, and he also lasted 1 year with the Vikings, where he averaged less than a yard a carry.
I did not know he was on the Vikings for a year.
For 1 year. 14 rushes, 13 yards, 2 touchdowns.
That's why I didn't really know he was on the Vikings. 2 touchdowns out of 14 carries, though. Huh, not bad.
The yardage was a little low. Some Matt Asiata territory there.
Hey now.
It's even worse than
It's not even Leroy Horde territory, where if you need 1, he'll get you 3. If you need 5, he'll get you 3.
All right, so that is another correct answer. So the question is, do you want to let it ride or throw in the towel for the final question?
Since Eric, in his eidetic memory and the love of the 2000 NFL draft, and apparently we're looking to bury these guys, we're going to let it ride.
Here's the final question. The San Francisco 49ers, under head coach Steve Mariucci, looked to find a backup for quarterback Jeff Garcia. Thus, instead of taking longtime 49er fan and Bay Area resident Tom Brady, they selected what quarterback who broke numerous passing records at Hofstra University?
If you ever watched that Tom Brady ESPN thing, all the quarterbacks that were taken before him, Spurgeon Wynn, one of them. I'm surprised there wasn't a Spurgeon Wynn question.
I was going to, but I figured everybody knew everything about Spurgeon Wynn, so it was pointless to ask.
So this is Giovanni Carmazzi.
They checked in with Giovanni Carmazzi, and that is the correct answer. So well done for sweeping the category on that one.
I have never heard of that guy.
Because he never started a game in the NFL.
He, I think his first preseason game was against Tom Brady. It's hilarious.
I think it was the Hall of Fame game, if I'm not mistaken. And Tom Brady clearly outshone him in that game. And like I said, he never ended up starting an NFL game. After the 3rd quarter, we have scores of Roberto Alamarcus Stroman with 190 points, and Eric and the Anchor, after sweeping that round, has a total of 560 points. So now it is time for the 4th quarter, which is our final quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This round consists of 5 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, so as to not exceed their current point total. So with that, here are your categories for the 4th quarter. Question 1, Olympic oddities. Question 2, The Open. Question 3, MLB pitchers in media. Question 4, NHL leaders. And question 5, tennis exhibitions. So those are your categories, and it's now time for the teams to place their wagers.
All right, we're going to check in with our wagers.
So now that the wagers are in, we'll move on to the questions. First question, the category of Olympic oddities. In December 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved into 15 independent republics. Thus, in the 1992 Winter and Summer Olympics, many of these former Soviet nations competed under what name?
We're going to check in.
Roberto Alamarca-Stroman is checking in, so Eric and the anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
Pretty sure it's the unified team. That's the first thing that came to my head.
That sounds right.
All right, so let's check in with unified team for 100 points.
Eric and the anchor is checked in with the unified team for 100 points. And Roberto Alamarca-Stroman, your answer and wager?
Well, we wagered 0, so we're going to give you both the answers anyway. But we had unified team, but we also had the CIS, which I think is the Confederation of Independent States, but I would only ever give you CIS.
All right. So you checked in with unified team and also CIS, which both of those were acceptable answers. So unified team or CIS were the correct answers. So they competed under the Olympic flag, and their country code was the French for unified team, which ended up being abbreviated to EUN, because I'm not going to try to pronounce it in French. Even though I'm from Louisiana, I'm still not going to try it. Okay, moving on to question 2 in category of the Open. What Irish golfer won the 2019 Open by 6 strokes over Tommy Fleetwood?
All right, we're going to check in.
Eric and the anchor is checked in. Roberto Alamarca-Stroman, go ahead and talk it out.
Let's just pick an Irish last name. Something.
Something it is. I like O'Reilly, O'Shaughnessy, both work. I think you both.
O'Rourke, O'Brien, Orlando Hudson.
Orlando Hudson. There we go.
All right,
stick with the theme.
Yeah, we we wagered 0. We're gonna check in with Orlando Hudson.
Roberto Alamarca-Stroman has checked in with Orlando Hudson for 0 points. And Eric and the anchor, go ahead and tell us your answer and point wager.
So we again wagered 100 points, and I only have the last name. I'm pretty sure the last name's Lowry.
Eric and the anchor has checked in for 100 points with Lowry. And the correct answer is Shane Lowry. So he has won 2 PGA Tour events. He won the 2015 WCG Bridgestone Invitational and the 2019 Open, and that is it. Those are the only 2 he has ever won. So it was kind of a big deal, the fact that he won it, because he really hadn't won much other than that. He was also tied for second in the U.S. Open in 2016. So he's been up there a couple of times, but that was his big win.
Brett Lowry played for the Blue Jays. Just want to put that out there for my partner. Kyle Lowry won a championship for Toronto. Just putting that out for my partner. Yes, we should have went with Lowry.
Lowry would have been it.
Question number 3 in the category of MLB pitchers in media. What 1976 AL Rookie of the Year and 2-time All-Star was the first baseball player to ever appear on the cover of Rolling Stone?
We're going to check in.
Eric and the anchor is checked in. Roberto Alamarca-Stroman, go ahead and talk it out.
So we're naming pitchers left and right. And 1976 Rookie of the Year feels like it would be memorable, but only a 2-time All-Star is less memorable.
Right, like it's not Nolan Ryan, obviously.
Right. And then you got the fact that this person was on the cover of Rolling Stone. So is it because they were a cool player, like a fashionable player, or because they were married to a musician, or because they were a musician themselves, or are they just newsworthy? And Rolling Stone doesn't get you Cleveland for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but you feel like they was someone who's got to be a celebrity. It was a biggish deal. So you mentioned Valenzuela as a potentially kind of guy like that, even though
it would have to be some sort of Fernando Mania type.
Yeah, it's got to be some maybe even someone who flamed out if they were a 2-time All-Star.
Yeah, it could be, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a starter.
Yeah. So I'm thinking back to the Yankees teams that won the World Series with Reggie Jackson.
Yeah,
in the late 70s.
I can't really think of anyone.
Neither can I.
Have come up in 70. 76 is when they started to get pretty bad.
Yeah. Annoyingly enough, I know the 75 AL Rookie of the Year because it was Fred Lynn, because he also won the MVP. But that's a year off, and Fred Lynn was not a pitcher.
Right. I can't really think of any. I feel like I'm going to know the name when I.
Yeah.
It's one of those obviously it's a player that I'm gonna have heard of.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Jack Morris as a possibility, and he'd definitely be the right age. He played in the American League a lot, and he had a kick-ass mustache, so that'd be a good thing for Rolling Stone. And but he was definitely more than a 2-time All-Star.
I don't feel like I remember him having like this big hype train like Denny McClain did.
Yeah, I like Denny McClain as an answer.
But there's also there's that guy from the Orioles whose name I can't think of.
Only guys from I came into it too late because the only guys in the Orioles I can think of are Mike Messina, and my family had a grudge against Mike Messina forever for showing up Cito Gasta in the '93 All-Star game.
So there's someone. Oh man, his name's escaping me, but I think he was more than a 2-time All-Star anyway.
Yeah, I mean I like Denny McClain as an answer.
Okay,
so let's just go with that. Let's just check in with Denny McClain.
And we wagered 90 points.
So Roberto Alamarca-Stroman is checking in with Denny McClain for 90 points. And Eric and Anchor, your answer and wager, please.
We didn't really have great discussion. Eric, this is obviously a blind spot for Eric, which doesn't help me as the anchor. But I came up with probably the pitcher you're trying to come up with, Scott, for the Orioles, and that is Jim Palmer. But I think he probably was more than a 2-time All-Star.
That's definitely the guy I was thinking of, yeah.
But that was the first name that popped in my head, and that's who ended up going with. So we're checking in with Jim Palmer for 100 points.
Eric and the Anchor checked in with Jim Palmer for 100 points. And unfortunately, both teams will not be getting points. The correct answer is Mark Fidrych. So
obviously
he was a phenom for the Tigers. He was called the Bird. He was very crazy. He talked to the balls and the mound, and he did all sorts of antics. And
so he was a Looney Tunes. So that's why he was.
Yeah, he was kind of an out there person. He actually only would pitch to a rookie catcher that was on the Tigers. Like he would not pitch to anybody else. So every game that he started his rookie year, he pitched to the catcher. And he was also on Sports Illustrated with Big Bird because supposedly he looked like Big. He has really curly hair, and like I said, he was kind of an out there person. So he made the All-Star the first 2 years, and then he got hurt and didn't make it back after that. But he became kind of a legend all across the country, and especially in Detroit at the time.
I've definitely, I mean, I know who he is for sure. Now that rings a bell.
I've heard of him for sure. But if I had to pick a crazy pitcher like that, I would have gone with Mitch Williams.
I think his name briefly went through my brain, and it exited so quickly that it wasn't there to even put it into Eric. And if I had said that to you, Eric, would that chimed anything for you?
So, I mean, common knowledge is that I don't know anything about, like, baseball before 1990, really. I mean, maybe a little bit of the 80s, but, I mean, you hit 70s baseball, and I had less than zero.
Yeah, like I said, it quickly – I think my problem with Mark Fidrych is isn't his name close to a fictional pitcher?
Sid Finch?
See, so I think I get those confused all the time on who was a real pitcher, who was the fictional pitcher. So I think that might have been why I let it just dissipate real quickly. Like, I don't know if that's a real guy.
All right, we move on to question number 4 in the category of NHL leaders. The Gordie Howe hat trick consists of a player achieving a goal, assist, and a fight in the same game. However, Howe has only achieved this twice. The all-time leader in Gordie Howe hat tricks is what current NHL head coach who did it 18 times in his 18-year career?
Eric, how have you not checked in yet?
I want Josh to feel involved.
He's involved in a victory. I think he's fine.
All right, Mason, we can check in.
Eric and the Anchor has checked in. Roberto Alamarca-Stroman, feel free to talk it out.
Hey, just want to vocalize this list you're sending me. Brenda Moore would be funny because in the last game I got tripped up on Brendan O'Shanahan Storm. And I mentioned how I only thought of Shanahan as a Red Wing because he played a lot with Brenda Moore. I remember those Red Wings teams.
So Rod Brindamore definitely had a long playing career.
Yeah.
And Rick Tocchet is the other guy I can think of who's a current active coach. I'm making my list of all the teams just to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out.
Sure.
But it's not Toronto. It's not Montreal. It's not Ottawa. It's not Detroit. Toronto is the young guy, Sheldon Keefe. He didn't play that long. He's younger than me. Montreal is Claude Julien. He's been a coach forever. Ottawa is, I think they just fired their guy. Do they have a guy now? Oh, no, DJ Smith. It won't be him. Detroit's Blashill, not him. Florida's Quenneville. I don't think he had 18. Was it 8? Did he say 18 was the number?
18
Gordie Howe hat
it's an
tricks.
18 season, so one.
Yeah. All right, so it's not going to be Quenneville. Tampa's John Cooper, never played. Buffalo's Kruger, never played. Boston is Bruce Cassidy, didn't play that long. Philly is Vigneault. New York Rangers is David Quinn, never played. New York Islanders is Barry Trotz. He's been a coach forever, so it's not going to be them. New Jersey just fired has Nasruddin. He's about my age. It's not going to be him. Pittsburgh is Mike Sullivan. He didn't have that long of a career. I just want us to get one of these right. That's all I'm motivated towards. It better be the hockey one, rather than just committing and saying it's Brendan Moore already. But I have a feeling that's where it's going to go. I think it's going to be him. Carolina is him. Columbus is Torts. It's not going to be him. Washington is Reardon, so it's not him. Minnesota, it's currently Dean Evison, so it won't be him. St. Louis is Craig Berube. He was a long-time player. He had a long career, but I don't think he scored that many goals, so I don't think he could have had that many hat tricks, Gordie Howe hat tricks. Winnipeg's Paul Maurice. It won't be him. Colorado is Jared Bednar. It won't be him. Dallas is Bonus, and he's coached for a long time, so he's out. Nashville is currently John Hines. He's out. Chicago is, I'm blanking on his name, but he's 32 years old, so it's not going to be him either. LA Kings is Todd McClellan, and he's out. Anaheim is Dallas Eakins. He's out. Arizona is Tocchet, so he's the other one. I don't know if he scored that many. Brendan Moore scored a lot of goals. We're circling around. It's almost certainly going to be him for the answer. I just want to exhaust everything we've got.
Why not?
San Jose. All right. San Jose is Bubner, and he was if he played, he was a defenseman. Pretty sure he played, and he was a defenseman, so he's out. Vegas is currently the guy who was in San Jose. I can see his face. I can hear his name in my head, but he's a coach. Peter DeBoer, so it's not him. Edmonton is Haircut. Come on. I can see it. I can literally see his face in my head. He used to coach Phoenix. Calgary is Jeff Ward, and Vancouver is Travis Green. Travis Green is a guy who did have a long career as a player, but he was a face-off specialist, and not a fighter. So it's going to be Brendan Moore, or it's going to be Tocchet. And my instinct is Brendan Moore because he scored more goals. So I say we go Brendan Moore.
I was with that 10 minutes ago.
Well, then thank you for indulging me on listing every coach and every team to go with that.
Listen, we're not winning this thing. Have a blast, man. By all means.
Well, if we at least named two potentials, and if it's one of them, I feel okay. But I'd much rather it's the correct answer. So we're gonna go Rod Brendan Moore checking in.
All right, checking in with Brendan Moore for how many points?
100 points.
100 points. All right, and Eric, the anchor, your answer and wager.
So it's an NHL question, so I'm immediately putting up 100 points. And unfortunately, guys, you had it down to 2. And honestly, I was wrong until you put that second part of the question, because I thought in my head Shanahan he's top 5, but we checked in with Rick Tocchet.
So Eric and Anchor has checked in with Rick Tocchet for 100 points, and the correct answer is Rick Tocchet. He had it down to 2 there.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it was the wrong one.
That was coin flip.
We just clinched the first ever 0 Homer's Trivia podcast.
We would like to be part of history here.
All right, we will move on to our final question in the category of tennis exhibitions. The famous Battle of the Sexes featured Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King battling it out at the Houston Astrodome. However, 4 months prior, Riggs defeated what other female tennis star in a televised match in Ramona, California?
We'll check in.
Roberto Alamarca Stroman has checked in. So Eric and Anchor, go ahead and talk it out.
So Josh, the only old tennis players I know, women tennis players, are Billie Jean King and Margaret Court. And if it's not Billie Jean King, because that's the first part of the question.
Not sure, right. I'm just not sure when Margaret Court actually played. Was she in the 70s?
I believe so.
Or did he beat a up-and-comer? Like, once again, if I knew approximately when in the 70s this really was, which could have it been like a young Martina Navratilova? I don't know. But she wouldn't have been a star at the time.
No.
I'm fine with
as bad as it would have been for him to just be going around like just beating women in tennis. I mean, I think it would have been bad if he was picking on like whatever, if Navratilova was like 15. You know what I mean? Like an adult beating a 15-year-old girl just wouldn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it could if that's what instigated the battle of the sexes. Like, hey, you just beat up on
serving aces to a 15-year-old girl.
I mean, wouldn't have been a bigger deal if he had played and beat Margaret Court? Like, she was the queen of the court, pretty much. I mean, I think she's a bigger name than Billie Jean King, at least in like winning. I think, but
yeah,
I don't know. In the end, we could go with Court. We could go with Navratilova. We could pick any other. Well, I wouldn't want to pick someone I know didn't play in a round there at least. But
yeah, I would go. I'm more comfortable with Court than Navratilova, but I like I said, this is just 100% a guess.
Sure, it's no different on my end. So, should we lock in, or should we check in? Sorry, with Margaret Court for
if you're good. Yeah, if you're good with it, I'm good.
I mean, it's a little anticlimactic at the moment, but I'm fine with that. So we'll check in with Margaret Court for 100 points.
Eric and the Anchor checking in with Margaret Court for 100 points. And Roberto Alamarca Stroman, your answer and wager?
We had sort of the same thought process you did. We also had no points left to wager. So we went with the other famous female tennis player we could think of, and that was Ms. Margaret Court.
Roberto Alamarca Stroman also checked in with Margaret Court for 0 points. And the correct answer is Margaret Court. So they did it on Mother's Day in 1973, and Riggs won 6-2, 6-1. And also, that was the first battle of the sexes, so to speak. And then the second one's obviously the most famous one. And there was also a third one in the 90s, which was Jimmy Connors and Martina Navratilova. So Connors beat Navratilova in straight sets under some modified rules that they had. They changed it a little bit, but Connors won that match.
I was hoping that was going to be the question, but in the end, Eric came up with the right answer, like usual.
I had two people to pick from. It happened to be one of the two people that I knew.
So the game has come to an end, and here are the final scores. Roberto Alamarca Stroman unfortunately had 0 points for the game, but our clipboard captains of the game receiving the coveted Brodie Croyle Award with 860 points, Eric and the Anchor.
Well played, gentlemen.
I see what you did there.
It's all
connected. It was already planned, but hey, he cemented it with John Brodie pool. So
that was nice.
That was impressive.
Scott, you okay down there? You just look up the set. Andrew, thank you for coming on, taking the time with us.
My pleasure. It's a fun time, even if we did get shellacked in the end there, and I blew a hockey question, which will have no impact on me whatsoever.
Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at Benchwarmers TP.